morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Women with Grit, where we interview dynamic women all around the world who all have one thing in common, grit. So go ahead and grab a friend, tell them that we are on. We are so excited to have another amazing, amazing woman to bring to the stage today. You guys have the opportunity to meet Dr. Sheri Riley. So go ahead and grab a friend. Let them know that we are on. Grab your favorite beverage of choice as well as your favorite snack and come on in the room to this another amazing show of Women with Grit, gracing the stage today. As you all can see, Lee is not with us this evening, but that is A-okay because we are going to have an amazing time today. You guys are in for a tremendous treat. So go ahead and like and share us, as well as go ahead and join our subscription online as well. So you can find us at www.womenwithgrit.com. You can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/exceptional women with grit. You can also find us on YouTube at www.youtube.com, the @ symbol and Women with Grit. So we are so excited that you all have decided to join us again tonight. So go ahead and leave your name, city, and state that you are joining in from so that we can be sure to greet you this evening. So let me give you guys an opportunity to introduce to you an amazing guest tonight, Dr. Sheri Riley. If you do not know this powerhouse, oh my goodness, you guys are in for a tremendous treat. So Dr. Sheri Riley is a wife, mother, daughter, and entrepreneur. We know this is not easy, but she figures out how to make it simple. After spending 20 years creating marketing strategies for global superstars and companies like Usher, Warner Media, and Converse, she now serves as the founder and president of Exponential Living, a personal, professional, and leadership development company that empowers professional athletes, coaches, entertainers, corporate execs, and entrepreneurs to grow personally and dominate professionally. As an empowerment speaker, high-performance life coach, award-winning author, founding member of John Maxwell's Global Maxwell Leadership Certified Team, Dr. Sheri speaks and trains at companies like the Chicago Bears, the NBA Coaches Association, Indiana Fever, the Coca-Cola Company, Universal Music Group, and JP Morgan Chase, just to name a few. Dr. Sheri received the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Her book, Exponential Living, Stop Spending 100% of Your Time on 10% of Who You Are, that one can preach for sure, is a Porch Light Books Business bestseller, nominated for an NAACP Image Award, garnered several self-help Book of the Year awards, and has been translated to French, Romanian, and Vietnamese. John Maxwell even featured an expert from Sheri's Exponential Living in his New York Times bestseller, Leadership, and interviewed her for his New York Times bestseller, The Leader's Greatest Return. So if you are not familiar, get to know. This amazing powerhouse, Dr. Sheri, is a contributor to the Newsweek and has been featured on national media outlets like NPR, the Marie Forleo podcast, Marie TV, the Steve Harvey Show, Huffington Post, and Essence, just to name a few. She travels around the world sharing her message, peace is the new success. I introduce to you all the amazing Dr. Sheri Riley. Good evening, Dr. Sheri.
Hey, sis, you read all of that.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, they need to know just the amazing, amazing journey that you have had and that you continue to have, inspiring the lives of so many. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I am so excited to have this conversation. You know, you got me with Women with Grit. Like that right there. That's it. That's my passion, my heart. Because I think women and grit is synonymous. So
there we go. Exactly. It's something just there in the chromosome while together. Chromosome X, altogether.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So, Dr. Riley, again, thank you for being on the show. And we are here to really get to know a lot more about you. So, we always like to start this show off getting to know our guests even more. So, if you would be so kind, tell us your unique story of grit.
Woo! You know, the interesting thing is I'm trying to figure out which one. 'Cause I feel like the journey has afforded me so many opportunities to have to find that grit within me, my personal journey, my professional journey. But if I had to identify one, I would pick the year of 2012 when my entire life fell apart. My
Wow.
dad passed. It was when I was in transition. I had a strategic consulting firm for 17 years, and that's when I closed that business and transitioned into what I'm currently doing. But at that time, I had no idea what I was doing. My marriage was at a very troubling, challenging space and place. So my husband and I separated. And because of some financial realities at that time, I looked up and I was homeless. I had a 6 year old, my husband and I had together, and we also had a bonus daughter. And so my husband, my 6 year old, and I ended up living in my one of my good friend's spare bedrooms and in hotels and motels. And here I am after running a multi-million dollar business, after having, tremendous success. And I find myself homeless, living in my friend's spare bedroom. And so, out of that space, not only was I embarrassed, but how did I get here? And what I will say is that's where exponential living was birthed. One, what I called homeless, I was actually on assignment because out of being in my girlfriend's spare bedroom, it afforded her and I to really create a bond that to this day is so fruitful for our friendship, but also for our businesses. It allowed her to grow in her relationship with God through hearing me in my prayer closet. But also, that's where God truly birthed exponential living. Now, I'm a woman of faith. I don't put my faith on anyone, but as a woman of faith, my deepest root of grit has come from my relationship of faith, my relationship with Christ. And out of that experience is when I launched Exponential Living, which is a lifestyle of pursuing peace, choosing clarity, and living courageously. And I know we'll talk about that more later. But that's where it launched. It launched in the season of homelessness, where I had to truly learn the next level of grit when my personal and professional life, both parts of it fell, I won't say fell apart, I'll say fell in the direction that I didn't want it to go.
Right. It fell into alignment with where your higher calling was. And
Yes.
sometimes, that whole cliche, sometimes things have to fall apart in order for them to fall together.
Yes.
Now, the question I have for you, Sheri, is in that season, you just lost your dad, you were going through a situation with your marriage, homelessness, like how did you keep yourself in that time and in that space? Because that could have easily taken you under. You could have decided to just, not go further. Instead, you saw and you were able to pull yourself through that. So can you walk us through that moment of how you were able to push past?
Yeah, one thing is I envisioned a slingshot. And when I envisioned this slingshot, I remember saying to myself, like, don't get caught up in how far you feel you're being pulled back. Stay focused on how far you're going to fly when you get released from this season. And so when I looked at the journey of the levels of success I had reached with my consulting firm, I knew that there was something in me that could pull me out of this. And so I didn't allow this, what I say, this temporary part of the journey to make me believe that this was the end of the story. And so as I was lost. Here I was, 42 years old, and I'd always known what I wanted to do. From the age of 18, I knew I would work in the music industry. Coming from a small town in Kentucky, I fulfilled that dream, starting at LaFace Records, having a strategic consulting firm for 17 years with the clients that you mentioned in the bio. And so I knew there was something in me that could achieve at this next level, even though I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what high performance life coaching was. I didn't know what it was to be a speaker, like a paid speaker. But what I did see was all these opportunities for growth being presented to me. And so, what I had to, if I'm honest, like where I had to find the grit is, and I mentioned earlier being embarrassed, I had to stop being consumed with what I believed other people would see about this part of my journey and really tap into what did I need to grow in? Where did I need to develop? Where did I need to take a chance on myself in a different way in order to achieve this vision? Even though I didn't have the clarity around it, I did know I wanted to serve people in a way that would help them understand exponential living, that would help them understand where those personal hindrances were keeping them from their personal and professional best. And so I just had to lock into the vision. I had to get past the embarrassment. And I had to truly, again, as a woman of faith, I had to not only pray, but I had to get up out of that bathroom floor, off that bathroom floor, and truly believe what I was asking God for.
That is so powerful. And the space of just truly having the belief beyond what you can see around you and having the comfort in leaning into the embarrassment. Because sometimes, and I love this, Sheri, and I appreciate Dr. Sheri, Dr. Riley. I appreciate you being so transparent about your journey and even the space of recreating yourself post a very, very, very successful career, because a lot of people will just kind of lean in and not really push forward. So tell us a little bit more about the people, the tribe, those that were around you to encourage you in the journey, and those who have championed your success.
I could tell you more of the people who didn't. And that was a growth for me
Ooh,
because I
okay.
had been such a person who served. I've been such a person who gives. And one of the most painful parts of the journey was the people who didn't reciprocate, who didn't show up,
That
who
part.
yeah, and so one of the things that God really taught me during that time, I'll never forget, it was March 2012, and it dropped in my spirit. I had to stop going everywhere. I had to stop doing everything, and I had to stop talking to everybody. And the reason that was such a powerful statement and such a powerful declaration of faith for me to do it is because up until that point, building my career, coming through the music industry, having my consulting firm for 17 years, I had built a very successful career going everywhere, talking to everybody, and doing everything. Like that, to this day, people call me like the grandmother, godmother, queen of networking because I know everybody. I respect people. I love on people. I would remember people's birthdays way before Facebook. That's just who I am. And so to in this season of where I feel like I need people, and I have this declaration of faith, stop doing everything, stop going everywhere, and stop talking to everybody. But then the few that I did reach out to, whether it was for some type of support, it wasn't reciprocated. But what I did learn is those that were there and those that weren't was still a part of the overall plan, because those that were there, and I'd hate to start naming people because they're, I don't want to miss anyone, but there were those who poured into me, that provided for me a place to live, provided a kind word, provided insight and wisdom. But there was also those who at the time I believed wasn't there, when the truth of the matter was They weren't there at the time because the level that I needed to get to, where their level of support would actually help, I wasn't there. So instead of being offended and taking on the spirit of offense, I had to recognize, no, Sheri, there's some work you need to do, because if you talk to them now, there's it's not going to benefit you or them. But when you get to a certain level in the work that you have to do, then when they meet you at that level with that ask or with that need or with that collaboration, that's when it's going to actually matter. And so, to be honest, that's why I love your question. What I had to really learn for myself is, Sheri, don't get caught in the spirit of offense, right? Don't get caught in the spirit of offense. Now, you do have to recognize the heart of some people and meet them where they are. You do have to recognize that you're not supposed to be there for everybody. And you do have to celebrate and recognize those that are. But in any of those stages and places, you can't be offended. You just have to be mature enough to recognize and keep moving and not get in your feelings.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Because to your point, it would only hurt you to stay in that space and stay in that mindset. And it would only hamper your growth and your trajectory. And that, I think, speaks to the space of self awareness that you have, Dr. Riley, and the ability to even cultivate that area of truth. So, one of the,
Can I add this?
yeah,
Because we're talking to women with grit.
yeah,
And what I found is a lot of women with grit, we don't know how to receive.
yes,
Right. And so
uh-huh.
sometimes we get offended because we want people to assume what we need because we won't ask. Or when we do ask, we get offended because we don't know how to receive. Right. And so what I found, I had to reframe the whole mindset around asking, because that was something that I had to recognize. I didn't know how to receive. God said, Sheri, you pray big, you believe big, but you do not know how to receive big. And so I had to reframe this idea around asking, right? Because a lot of times women with grit, we don't want to ask. We don't want to feel like on one end of the continuum that we don't have it all together, we don't have all the answers. And so we don't want to seem vulnerable. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we don't want to ask because we don't want to be indebted to anybody, or we don't want people to feel that we're weak. Or so on either end of the continuum, the reality is we need to reframe the thought that we're asking and recognize that we're really informing. Like, you're informing people of a situation that you have, you're informing people of the reality of the truth that you're in, and then they then get to do whatever they're going to do with that information. So if we can reframe as women of grit, if you're struggling with any of those realities around this idea of asking, if you could reframe that and just say in your mind, you know what, I'm informing them, and then they get to do with that information whatever they want to do. That has been such a game changer for me.
Freeing yourself from those ideologies and opinions of others and simply walking in the truth of sharing your story is so amazing. And so, but it's also freeing, right? You know, you feel light because you're walking from a space and a place of authenticity, and what someone does with that information has nothing to do with you at the end of the day. So thank you so much for sharing that. Let's talk about self-limiting beliefs, or things, the ideas that you had to get rid of as you continue to climb and as you have gone through and continue to grow through life. What were some of those former ideologies that you've either had to overcome, or even some that you may still find yourself working through?
Yeah, the feeling of unworthiness. And I can't tell you, honestly, where that came from, because I have two amazing parents. My parents were divorced when I was young, and my dad remarried. I had an amazing bonus mom. So it wasn't, one of them situations where I didn't grow up in a loving environment. But so it wasn't obvious, right? But what I realized is there was this feeling, this ideology, this stronghold, this limiting belief, that I was unworthy, which kind of tied into confidence. And so, you know, when you are someone who's successful, and I would call myself successful, meaning I had, financial success, business success, all the boxes were checked. Well, you can honestly think that that is you're confident. When the truth of the matter is, that's drive, right? Drive is what pushed me to achieve. Confidence is who I am when I get there. And when I accomplish these things, and sometimes we call it imposter syndrome or, these other terms, well, sometimes it shows up as lack of confidence. And tapped into that is, areas of unworthiness. And so for me, I had to really be honest with myself and look in the mirror and really began to recognize, okay, Sheri, what have you how much has success been something that you had to achieve to to help you mask this unworthiness? And I believe women of grit, if we're honest, women with grit, if we're honest with ourselves, I'm not the only one. I may be the one speaking now, but I'm not the only one that has struggled with, checking all the boxes to try to keep us from having to really look at this idea around our worthiness and our worth. And so with a lot of my clients that I coach, and I'm a high performance life coach, so I coach, high performers, right? And a lot of women with grit. And what I have discovered is many times our drive is pushing us because we're constantly seeking validation because we haven't fully owned our value. And what I do with my clients is I really help not minimize, but really help elevate our worthiness, our value, so that we don't have to work so hard in validation. And so a lot of us are burnt out and stressed and overwhelmed and doing too much for too many because we're seeking this constant validation because we don't have our cup of value filled. And so I encourage our women of grit, spend some time filling your cup of value through self-care, through self-talk, through self-awareness. Some of you just need to go take a nap. Get some sleep. There may be some hormonal therapy if you're at a woman of a certain age and you're dealing with perimenopause or menopause. There's a hormonal reality that we need to really talk about freely, that really helps us in that area of self-care, self-love, and for me, that, growing in my own worthiness.
That was so much that you just dropped, Dr. Riley. You couldn't see me, but I was like, yes, just the amen, and we have been doing this now for 4 years, and we've seen some consistent threads and themes, and you are absolutely hitting on them. One of them, I've come to affectionately call the popular loner, right? Which is everyone kind of knows women in the space that operate with this space of high performance, but when you really talk to them and you get them one-on-one, sometimes they kind of feel alone because they have achieved the highest, and the relatability with others is sometimes difficult, if you will. And so I thank you for leaning into that. I'm sure if you all have ever felt that, feel free to leave that in the chat as well, if you have definitely been on that continuum or felt that as well, in the chat. And then vulnerability, and I thank you for sharing that, because there is real strength in vulnerability, and vulnerability can be very, very freeing to you. You said something, and I want to go back and get this and quote this. You said, drive is what you achieve, but confidence is who you are when you get there.
Yes.
I hope you all are taking notes about that, because there's a serious difference. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Because you're speaking to a group of really, really driven individuals as well who could really lean into that thought.
Yes. Drive is our protective strength. Confidence is our vulnerable strength. right?
Yeah.
And how that shows up is we spend so much time building the external, right? We're building our titles within our companies or within our areas of influence or within our circles, whether it's in a community service like a Jack and Jill's or a Links, or whether it's in your sorority or whether it's in your church, whether it's at your job and you're taking on the leadership role in this affinity group and this group, or being a part of, there's all of these external realities. You're serving on your child's GPA. I mean, whatever that parent organization is at your school. And, there's all of these external things that we're working hard to achieve, but we don't put that much intentionality in our personal development. In our personal development, how are we, like, we think that if we get a title, next level title, that means that we grow personally. And that's not true. One of the biggest myths is that if you keep growing professionally, that by osmosis, you automatically grow personally. And that's not true. And so we have to be just as intentional about our personal development, our decision making, our communication, our conflict management. How you think at 45 is not the way you processed at 20. Giving yourself the ability to grow in your thinking and your processing. And so what happens is our drive elevates to a level that our confidence don't show up, and our confidence is not there. When we look at, let's just say, a professional athlete, and a professional athlete making $100 million a year, and they make a decision, a personal decision, that they lose their career. And we have many, many examples of that. And we sit back and go, well, how could they make that decision? Well, those are usually examples of where your skill and talent has taken you to levels of success that your character can't sustain. I'm going to say that again. Our skill and talent can take us to levels of success that our character can't sustain. And so what happens is we've got to be as intentional about our character development. We got to be as intentional about the core of how we show up in our own value proposition for ourselves. And that's how we grow our confidence. So the truth of the matter is we need the drive and the confidence. It's how do we get the confidence to grow to the same level as our drive, so that the two of those are working together. That's how we grow personally, so we can continue to dominate professionally.
Oh my goodness, so amazing. And I mean, like, I hope you all are gathering and gleaming. You came with your pen and pad ready, because she is definitely dropping so many nuggets, so many nuggets. Dr. Riley, I'm going to pull you backstage for just a second, because believe it or not, we're already halfway through our segment. But before you go, I want to leave you with a question that we'll address when we come back. So one of the things that you basically shared, and I wrote it down as essentially moving from profit to purpose, and moving kind of in the space of purpose and leaning into that. So when you think about not only your journey and what you have seen with women, and even redefining self, what are some tips that you can offer to a woman who has, essentially become extremely successful profitably, but is now looking to shift into a space of purpose? So I'll ask you that as soon as we come back from a quick break. But thank you, thank you, thank you. This has just been so dynamic. Oh my goodness. I hope you guys came ready today. Definitely came ready. Dr. Riley is dropping so many gems for you. And go ahead and leave in the chat, what is resonating most with you? What stood out most to you, right? I love the fact when she gave the analogy of her story, and she said it wasn't oftentimes those that supported you, it was recognizing those that didn't, and not staying in a space of even resentment or bitterness, but recognizing that the season that she was in. And that to me, definitely resonated, especially as one who's a giver, and that continues to pour and give out. So I'm interested in knowing what resonated with you from what Dr. Riley has mentioned during this first half. And again, you all are tuned and locked into Women with Grit, where we interview dynamic women around the world and allow them a space to share their amazing and dynamic stories. Please like us and share. If this resonated with you, or if you know someone who could utilize this message, share it. Share it with them as well. You can also find us on www.womenwithgrit.com. You can find us on on Facebook at www.facebook.com/exceptional women with grit. You can also find us on YouTube at www.youtube.com/the @ and women with grit. And if you know of an amazing woman with grit that you think that we should definitely bring to the stage, go ahead and reach out to us on any one of our forums, and a member of our team will be sure to contact you further. So make sure that you are dialed in, because again, this has been so phenomenal. You guys are listening to Dr. Sheri Riley, who is on tonight, and she has so many different gems. So I'm interested in hearing what stood out to you. But enough about that. I'm going to go ahead and bring Dr. Riley up, and then we're going to continue to dig in a little bit more. What does it mean to move, or any tips that she has about moving from profit to purpose? And then we'll talk about her book, as well as her programming around exponential living, and we'll go from there. Welcome back, Dr. Riley.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so just before the break, the question I had was really about the space of moving from profit into purpose. And what advice, guidance, or tips would you give to a woman who might find themselves in that season as well?
Yeah, so I'm a take a different kind of twist to it, because one of the things we work with our high performers in our Power Broker Academy is these four, what we call the four P's: purpose, passion, profit, and profession. And one of the
Say it
things
one
that,
more time.
yep, purpose, passion, profit, and profession. Yes. And so one of the things, I have this love-hate relationship with purpose, with this word purpose, right? So many of us, and the challenge I have is when I hear people say, I'm trying to find my purpose. Can you help me find my purpose? And by using the word find your purpose, it means it implies that it's something outside of you, right? That it's something that's lost, that's outside of you. When the truth of the matter is, purpose is within you. And so many of us are seeking this external answer, or this external truth, or what we're supposed to be doing, right? When, again, as a woman of faith, my favorite book says that God knew us before we were formed. And he said he purposed us while we were in the womb. And so the reality is that purpose is something that's within. I'm going to start there. Passion, purpose, profit, and profession for many people can be four different things. And one of the greatest challenges is that many of us believe that we got to be passionate, and our purpose has to be what we're passionate about, and we got to make our profit with our passion and our purpose, and this has to be our profession. And for some of us, that may be true. But for many of us, our passion can be one thing, our purpose can be something totally different. We can make our profit in a totally different way, and we can have a different profession. And so many times these can all be separate. So let me give an example. Let's say there's a person who absolutely loves children. They just love children. That could be their passion. They have a love for children. But their purpose could be that they are a phenomenal listener. Have a gift for hearing. They have a gift for hearing what people are saying, what they're not saying. And because they hear a certain way, they're always meeting people at a need because they can hear. And then their profit, they may be married to someone who makes a lot of money. And so their profit can come from a marriage, or they could have been born into a family that had money. That profit could come from some other way. And then their profession, they could actually work at in a corporate environment as an account executive. Now, here's the thing. Their profession is that of accounting executive. Their spouse is where the profit comes in. Their passion is they love children, and their purpose is they are a phenomenal listener. Now, if they're trying to make all of those sync, if they're trying to make this love of children, this, they may think, oh, I'm supposed to be an educator, I'm supposed to teach. Or they're like, what is my purpose? I don't know my purpose. My purpose has to be in children. When their purpose is listening, and then their profit, they feel like they got to make a lot of money, but they're supposed to be an educator, and the educator doesn't make a lot of money. That person right there is struggling. When the truth of the matter is, if they know that their passion is children, and so they volunteer in youth with youth organizations, they may lead the youth program at their church, and because their purpose is they listen, they may be able to truly serve these children by the things that these babies say that their parents aren't hearing, that they can then share with their parents. They may hear things that these babies are saying that allows them to give hugs where hugs are needed, or a firm disciplinary action where they need to take a stance with a child that needs some instruction, and they can fully appreciate that their spouse is bringing in a profit, that they then love their job as an account executive. They love their job as an account executive. And so now they have this enriched life because they have been able to truly understand that their passion, their perfect, their passion, their purpose, their profit, and their profession are four different things. That right there frees so many women with grit because they realize they're living this reality of feeling bad, feeling frustrated, but they don't understand it because they love their job. So why am I frustrated? I love kids. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing something in the educational system, but that ain't where they're called to serve. They were to serve as their profession. They were really more valuable showing up at their student as the lead person at their students PTA or their kids PTA. There's so many ways that their passion for children could be realized when they get clear on those four different things. So a little bit of a different twist that, on the profit and the purpose. But thank you for that opportunity to dive into just a core belief I have found with women with grit around those four, what we call the four P's.
No, I think that that is spot on, Sheri, and you're definitely teaching me. So I appreciate the opportunity to continue to learn. Absolutely. The four P's: your passion, your purpose, profit, and profession. And what I captured from that was your passion is essentially what you have a love for. And then your purpose was what you're good at, what you're naturally gifted and good at. Your profit is how you acquire your funds, and your profession is essentially what you do. And they can be the same, but they can also be different, and that's okay.
You got it. That's it.
I appreciate that. Oh my goodness, so much, so much. So I want to step into, you have been doing this. You have talked about the space of shifting your career, your life, all of these different dynamics and areas that you have done for yourself. And you have even authored the award-winning book, Exponential Living. You've been featured. You've been a part of the founding, group when it comes to John Maxwell as well. So let's talk about it. This exponential living, stop spending 100% of your time on 10% of who you are. What was the inspiration behind your book? Like, let's go deep into it. Oh, yep.
There we go. There we
There
go.
it is. I've got my copy too.
Yes. Oh, the inspiration. I was working at LaFace Records, which was my dream job, and that was the record company for Tony Braxton, TLC, Outkast, Usher. And this was my dream job. I'd worked about 10 years coming from a small town in Kentucky, trying to get into the music industry. And here I was. I loved my artists. I loved the work I was doing. I mean, this was my dream. And I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And it was because I was spending 100% of my time on 10% of who I was and expecting 100% of my fulfillment. And
Wow.
right. And as a marketing girl, like, oh, I knew that was a dope tagline, right? Stop spending 100% of your time on 10% of who you are. Like you said at the beginning, girl, that'll preach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I needed the answer. Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you stop doing that? And so I went on this journey and realized that there's 9 principles that really serve as the bridge between that 10% and that 100%. And that's the core of my book. My book is giving you those 9 principles in a very simple uh, way that allows you to really make change. Like my whole thing was, I didn't want to write another self help book that showed you the problem, but didn't give you a simple strategy on how to make the transformation. I wanted real transformation. And one of the greatest gifts that people give me is when they say to me, "Oh my God, your book is on my books on my nightstand," or "Oh my God, I read your book every year," or "It took me a year to read your book because I had to read it. Stop. Okay, do the things you said." That's just the greatest gift because that's what I wanted. I wanted real transformation. And so the book is 9 principles, and it's written in a way that shares with you where I see the challenge, what the opportunities are for growth, gives you the steps for those the transformative steps you need to take. Then it gives you what I call vision, action, results. Like here's what the test, this is how you do the things you have to do. And then we conclude it with an exponential conversation. And that's where we share a real life experience of someone who's lived through and really showcases that principle.
So, is it on Amazon? Can they go to Amazon and get
Yes.
it?
So they can go anywhere books, audio books, and ebooks are sold, but you can also go to sheririley.com/product products with an S, and you can buy an autographed copy there. So anywhere books, audiobooks, and ebooks are sold, and for an autograph copy, you can go to sheririley.com/products.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. And also expounding upon that 9 principles of how to make transformation work so that you can live an exponential life.
Yes. And I'll give the definition again of exponential living. What is that? Exponential living is pursuing peace, choosing clarity, and living courageously.
Mm.
And what I've found is that regardless of your financial status, regardless of your career pursuits, regardless of where you are with your family, your personal relationship with yourself, what I've found is no amount of money will give you peace. No amount of success will give you peace. And one of the greatest challenges is when we've reached certain levels of success and we're miserable, right? And so when we get that peace, and peace is something you pursue. It's not a destination you reach, but it's a lifestyle that you commit to. And when you get that place of peace, that inner calm, that inner strength, when you tap into that, it gives you clarity. And when you put peace and clarity together, it gives you the courage to do anything, the courage to stop doing things, the courage to make changes, the courage to stay where you need to stay. So I found that any life challenges is really overcome when you have peace, clarity, and courage. And so exponential living is a lifestyle of pursuing peace, choosing clarity, and living courageously.
Wow, that is powerful. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Dr. Riley. I want to spend, a couple of minutes talking about the Power Broker Academy and just how you continue to enrich the lives of women and individuals around the world. So can you tell us more about how you do this? Because we've seen it and we're seeing it through your life. Now, how are you transferring that to
Yes.
others?
Oh, I'm gonna tell you, Power Broker Academy is literally for women with grit. Like when I tell you,
Wow.
I curated and created it for this, and what this community represents, women with grit. Because what I understand about grit is that it's going to elevate you, right? It's going to wear you out. It is going to challenge you. And it can also narrow your vision of life because you've got to lock in. When you got grit, that means you got to lock in. And so there's the great side of that is we reach these levels of success, but the other side, the challenge is we're automatically going to get to a place of transition. We're going to get to a place where we have a capacity issue, and we're going to get to a place where we have everything we've worked for and there's still some things missing. And so Power Broker Academy is a 8-week guided mastermind that is curated for high performers who have reached a level at their life, a level of success, a level in their professional and personal life where they can check the boxes, but they get to some place of transition. You could be an empty nester. You could be married for the first time in your later years. You could be a recent divorcee. You could be at a place in your company where you're about to take that next level to the C-suite. And what does that mean? Whatever that transition is, you've reached that place, or you've gotten to a place of capacity, burned out, overwhelmed, overworked. You need to create margin. There's more things that you want to do in your life, but where do you create that margin and space? Or you're at that place where you've literally checked all the boxes. You're loving your life, you're loving your career, but something's missing. And there's an area of fulfillment. And what I kind of put all of those together, that you've either reached a place where now it's time to answer that question, what's next? Or you're at that place of not being able to answer the question of what do I want? Like many women with grit, when I ask them that question, what do you want? They can tell me their business strategy. They can tell me the plan at work that they're implementing. They can tell me the strategy they've put together to get their child a scholarship and a full ride to college. They can tell me all of these things. But when I say, okay, that's great, but what do you want? What do you want? They're not able to answer that question. And so Power Broker Academy is an 8-week mastermind that launches with a 3-day summit this year. For those that this year, it is July 18th to the 21st. We go to the beautiful Terranea. This resort is just beautiful. If you feel like you're leaving the country, but we go to Terranea for 3 days and we really lock in and focus on our exponential living life plan, but we do it in an environment that's really curated around rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation. And then when we really put together the how, then it's the 8 weeks of accountability. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I just didn't want to put together another conference or another retreat or summit. We come together, we put together this amazing plan, we get these phenomenal notes, we get back, life kicks in, and those notes go in the corner with that last great conference that we went to, right? I really want transformation. And so the 8 weeks of guided masterminding is with this cohort. And the Power Broker Academy cohort is a small group. It's a very small group of like-minded individuals that we bring together, and then we focus for 8 weeks on the mastermind. You get 2 one-on-one coaching sessions because, again, I want transformation. At the end of the 8 weeks, I want you to be able to say, I was here and now I'm here. And so if you go to powerbrokeracademy.com, you can find the link there that will allow you to schedule a discovery call. Or when you'll see later, we'll have the QR code on the screen where you can scan the QR code and you can book a discovery call. And on that discovery call, we'll really talk more in detail of if and how Power Broker Academy aligns with where you are. Because again, it is a curated mastermind, because you get not only the value of the curriculum that we've put together for you, but you get the value of this like-minded group that really brings their experience, their insight to your journey, and vice versa. And you have that extra layer of accountability. You have that extra layer of community. So many of us, and you referenced this in the beginning, so many of us have our civic organizations, we have our work groups, we have our friend groups, but we don't really have a like-minded community that has a shared interest in where we are at this point in our lives. Our friends can give us a great empathetic ear and a great pat on the back. Our social community, we all coming together, we're working together for a common goal outside of us. But to have that group that is committed to your transformation as you are committed to their transformation, that is in a similar space and place in their journey, that can share with you their insights and their takeaways. That's all curated in the Power Broker Academy curriculum that we have worked hard to really build and take you through this 8-week journey. It's a one of a kind experience. And I'll share this with you. And I told you earlier, the cohort that went through last year, we wrapped in September of 2023. They still, May 2024 and beyond, they still come together every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, because that community, that cohort, that group literally has held each other accountable. They've supported each other in career transitions. They've cried together with personal devastation and tragedy. They've just genuinely been on this journey together. And that's what Power Broker Academy is about, is transformation for and in transition, capacity, and those areas of fulfillment.
I love that. So don't go it alone. Definitely take the time to experience it and to also walk through the journey. I'm going to put the QR code back up one more time. So go ahead and scan to book your discovery call through the QR code right there. And if for whatever reason you can't access the QR code, you have the link just below at www.powerbrokeracademy.com. So don't leave here without the ability to make sure that you connect and go deeper in your journey. This has been such a phenomenal time, Dr. Riley. And, thank you so much for gracing the stage of Women with Grit. We recognize that you could be spending your time doing anything, anywhere, and you've chosen to spend it today with us. And so we absolutely thank you on behalf of Lee and myself, we thank you for coming to Women with Grit tonight. Before I wrap and kind of walk through just a couple of key nuggets that I captured, which, by the way, if you are listening in, I did not capture them all. So make sure that you go back, watch this again, listen to it again. Make sure you have your pad and your pen handy, because you will capture and catch a whole lot more by doing it that way. But before I go through the wrap up, Dr. Riley, are there any final remarks that you would like to leave for our viewers? And then also, please let our viewers know how they can connect with you and stay engaged with you.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I so appreciate the invitation to come and share with you, and to be able to share with Women with Grit. I appreciate this platform you've created, because it's so needed, or you both you guys have created. It's so needed. I mean, we need this. We need how you guys have committed to allowing us to share our stories, so we can just demythify some of the ideology around, the idea of grit, meaning, everything you hit it, you gung ho, and you got this, and you don't cry, and when you cry, you gut. Yeah, it's all of those things, but it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say I need help. It's okay to ask or inform. It's okay to absolutely go through seasons that you may think are embarrassing, but really you're on assignment, or it's a part of your story and your journey. And so I thank you guys for creating this platform. And I would just say, for all of you amazing women with grit, the core of my message is peace is the new success. And the reason that's so critical is because all of these things, the outside things, our families, our careers, our professions, our civic work, our impact in the world, all of those things can never come at the expense of us. And so many of us forget that the most critical person we are called to serve is ourselves first. We are called to fill our cups first, and then we serve from the overflow. And so, if we could just commit to peace being the new success and what that means for us, and then out of that, then understanding that we have to fill our cups and then serve from our overflow, we will then be the women with grit that are here for the long term, that laugh and smile and enjoy this amazing journey. There's so many of us who absolutely are doing the work, but we're not enjoying the journey. and I want more of us to enjoy the journey. So please follow me on Instagram, Sheri Riley, SheriRiley. That's the website as well. And let's please connect on Instagram, SheriRiley.com, and DOTCOM is spelled out. Would love to connect there as well. And I absolutely invite you to book a discovery call. I would absolutely love to talk with you more about Power Broker Academy and why I know it is such an impactful experience that really just helps you continue to be that powerful woman with grit that you are. Oh, yeah, go get the autographed copy of the book. That QR code right there will take you to the website where you can order your autographed copy of the book. Thank you for putting that back on the screen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, Dr. Riley, this has been just a phenomenal time. So thank you for taking the time to grace the stage of Women with Grit. So much impactful knowledge and nuggets that you have shared with our guests. I'm going to do a quick wrap up and then we are off to the races, if you will. So I encourage you all to connect with Dr. Riley through her social media platforms, through the ability to connect and also delve into the Power Broker Academy. You know, I don't know about you, but I definitely know I needed this, right? This is right timing. This is the right season for this, and recognizing that this is for us. We have to, as she said, pour from the overflow, right? Pour from the overflow, and you give specifically for the overflow. So a couple of notes that I captured, which is one, sometimes when you're in that space, envision the slingshot. And Dr. Riley talked about in the space of her journey when she was in that moment of grit and working through homelessness and everything, she envisioned the slingshot and being propelled forward. So if you find yourself in that space, envision your slingshot. One. Number two, have a strong belief in your abilities and have a strong belief in the things that you are not, that you're capable of, and that you can continue to walk in your specific space of being, right? And continue to pour from that place. She talked about stop being consumed about what others see concerning you. Share your story, the good, the bad, the ugly, the moments, because you never know who it's going to help and who it's going to continue to propel in their journey. She said in her season, which I love the fact that she talked about this and it spoke specifically to me, which was the stop going everywhere, stop doing everything, stop talking to everyone. I wrote down just stop, right? Sometimes we have to just still ourselves and settle ourselves to simply sit in that and be, whatever that is, just be. Those that she also talked about the space that when it came to those that supported, those were important, but also recognizing the ones that didn't and the people that fell away, and that too has a place. And so to not get consumed in the bitterness or the resentment of it, but to simply recognize everything has a place and everything is as it should be in that moment, and welcome that space of peace. Lean into vulnerability because there is real strength in the space of being vulnerable. And I love the quote that she said, where she said, drive is what you achieve, but confidence is who you are when you get there. And the two are different. And sometimes we tend to overlay them, but to pull them apart and recognize that they are truly two different facets. She talked about the space of elevating your worthiness and recognizing that, you know, as a part of that you're worthy of all those good things as well. That you must grow yourself internally, not only just focusing on the external values that we seek, whether it's skill, talent, abilities, what we do with our career, hair, physical, etc., but to grow ourselves internally and to recognize that purpose is not a facet of something that you pursue, but true purpose resides within you. And to seek within. She talked about the space that peace is the new success. So when you look at your life, ask yourself, are you succeeding when it comes to peace? And then she said, the most critical person that you are called to serve is yourself first, because you truly cannot pour from an empty cup, and you should be giving from the space of your overflow. because that's what it means to truly be filled up. And then the 4 principles she gave of the Power Broker Academy was the fact that you've got passion, purpose, profit, and profession. And that passion is the aspect of what you have a love for. What are you passionate about? Purpose is the aspect of what you are truly gifted with. Profit is specifically how you acquire your funds, and your profession is what you do. And they can all be very different. And that is okay. So what a phenomenal time that we had. Hopefully you guys took some notes. You know someone that needed to be here. So feel free to share this specific clip with Dr. Sheri Riley, the wonderful author, award-winning author of Exponential Living, as well as the founder and CEO of
Exponential Living.
Exponential Living, yes.
Exponential Living, yes.
Absolutely. So definitely, you guys, again, Sheri, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Women with Grit. I'm going to go ahead and pull up her so that you guys can connect with her one more time. Go ahead and grab her book, Exponential Living. Stop spending 100% of your time on 10% of who you are. And then also to go ahead and get your discovery call in with the Power Broker Academy. So what a phenomenal time. Thank you so much again, Dr. Riley. And
thank you.
Thank you. So go ahead, and we'll see you all next week at the same time, same place, right here on Women with Grit. Have a great night.